Today, I watched a couple of Barbara Stanwyck, George Brent collabs. And I've never been the biggest George Brent fan, but I do like Stanwyck as an actress. And there were several that we showed on Stanwyck Day that I had not seen before. So it was fun to catch up. There's a few more that I'm hoping to get in. But instead of doing one big video of all of them, I thought I would do the Stanwyck Brent films. I actually didn't realize that the two I chose to watch to begin with were um, both of them until I was in the second one, and then I was like, oh, perfect. So, double feature. The first one was 1932's The Purchase Price, and it's directed by my fave, William A. Wellman, except this film is not a comedy, and therefore his directorial touches really work. It is a melodrama set in the Depression, and as often in melodrama set in the Depression, Barbara Stanwyck is a torch singer. She has a sometime boyfriend who is a bootlegger, but she's trying to get out of this life. She doesn't like Broadway anymore. She's heard all the things and she's knows all the answers, and she's pretty much gotten through her teen years and early 20s with relatively unscathed, so she says. And she thinks she's going to marry a nice dude. However, nice dude is rich, and his father has followed her around and discovered that she has this bootlegging boyfriend. So she's not able to get out of the life. But she does get away from this bootlegger boyfriend because she needs a change. She goes to Montreal, as we all do when we need a change, and eventually ends up as a mail order bride in the wilds of Canada. So, at that point, she is in the wilds of Canada, and her new husband is George Brent, and she has to adjust to life as a married woman to a stranger, as well as running a farm, as well as keeping one step away from her ex-boyfriend. This film, there were moments that felt a little clunky, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I didn't like George Brent. I don't think he's great. So, like, Stanwyck is fantastic in this movie, and it felt like the George Brent character should have been played by Charles Farrell, and actually Charles Farrell has played very similar characters in several films, mostly in silent films, but, because, well, you don't want to hear Charles Farrell talk, but this character felt like he should have been played by Charles Farrell, and Charles Farrell has a charm to him that George Brent never has, and so the even when Charles Farrell is playing like awkward, he has a charm. Whereas in this one, George Brent is just stiff, and he's supposed to be awkward, but you're supposed to buy Stanwyck falling in love with him, and you never do. At least I never did. There's also a very nice early performance from Anne Shirley in this film, so if you enjoy her, look out for that. And Lyle Talbot plays the boyfriend, and Lyle Talbot is always great. And if you ever get a chance to see his daughter, what is her name? Oh, Margaret Talbot. Margaret Talbot talks about her father in screenings every once in a while, and she tells great stories. So if you ever get a chance to see her, she wrote a book. If you ever get a chance to see her talk about one of his films, definitely do that. The next film I watched was 1946's My Reputation. It was filmed several years earlier, and it was given to Stanwyck by Warner Brothers after she was unceremoniously removed from Mildred Pierce. So there's some backstories there. It's shot by James Wong Howe. Everything looks beautiful. It's directed by Curtis Bernhardt, probably best known for his Joan Crawford movie Possession. In this, Stanwyck is 32 years old, and her husband has just died after 2 years of being ill. She has 2 teenage sons. She sends them off to boarding school. She tells her mom that she is not going to go into mourning the way that her mom has been mourning her father for 25 years. She's going to try to reestablish her life. She's young. She's just trying. She needs to figure out what her life is now. Not necessarily with another man. However, when she goes on a vacation to try to get her head together, she meets another man. This is played by George Brent. George Brent has aged not very well in this film, I must say. And so I still don't see the attraction and I still don't see the chemistry. But Eve Arden plays a sassy best friend, which is always fun. There's a great score by Max Steiner. You really root for Stanwyck, who is like, I'm living my life, let me do that. She says that to her gossipy rich friend. She says it to her mother. She says it to her teenage kids at one point. And the only thing that doesn't make the film really, really, really shine is the unfortunate ending, where spoilers, she chooses uh, basically being with her family and waiting until the Brent character is out of the army and comes back to her. And you're like, okay, he's probably going to die. He's going to war. You should have just had your happiness and gotten married and done your thing. But we weren't quite there yet. But this is a surprisingly feminist film for the most part, and definitely for its era. With another just great complex character played by Stanwyck. If you looked at all of the posters, you would think this movie was very trashy, because they sex up her in all of the posters and they make it seem like she's a tart and very like Scarlet Lettery, and that is not the film at all. Ugh, it's just sometimes the marketing of films, I'm like, what were you doing? But you got to do what you got to do to get the butts in the seats, I guess. I don't know. Don't judge this movie based on its posters, is what I'm saying. Basically, for both of these films, I say watch them for Stanwyck. She is fantastic. I don't think it'll turn you into a George Brent fan. If you're already a George Brent fan, then it won't make you dislike him. But it did not turn me into a George Brent fan. There's a great bourbon quote in it. I'm always down for that. So this was The Purchase Price from 1932 and My Reputation from 1946. They're both available from Warner Archive, I think on Warner Archive disc, as well as there are streaming on Watch TCM until Saturday, I think. So check them out. Yay, Barbara Stanwyck.